Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Miles Ahead. In this episode, we're changing things up and passing hosting duties onto me, Danny. But don't worry, our visionary founders, Josh and Reed, are still here.
Yep, still kicking around.
They're not going anywhere. We're also joined today by Jeff, our resident Chase Bank expert, and he is going to help you get miles ahead with U.S. credit cards.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you guys again. And thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff. As we continue to experiment with new segments, new hosts, and topics, please leave us a review and rating wherever you're listening. If you enjoy this hosting change, or conversely, are extremely annoyed by the sound of my voice, please send us feedback on which structure and segments you enjoy most so we can continue building Canada's premier Miles and Points podcast. With that introduction done, let's move on to our first fixed segment, Guess That Card. If you listen to any of our previous episodes, you've probably heard this in one or maybe two episodes, and it takes inspiration from the 90s TV show where the Pokemon would cut to commercial break, and in that commercial break, you would see a shadow of a Pokemon. We've taken a similar approach, except we are now guessing that credit card rather than guessing that Pokemon. So for this segment, I've pre-selected a card, and I'm going to provide hints to help everyone get on the right track to identify it correctly. Jeff, Reed, and Josh are our guests on today's show, and they will use those hints to guess Family Feud style as quickly as possible until they guess the correct card. Each guest will get one attempt to guess the correct card before another hint is revealed. So everybody will have to use those guesses wisely. The guest with the correct answer will join me in a short chat about that card, its main benefits, and why the Frugal Flyer team recommends it. If you guess that card before our team, comment on this post of the episode on frugalflyer.ca to let me know which clue tipped you off. So, our first hints for Guess That Card are going to be 2 hints. And then if nobody guesses it after these, we are going to move on to a third hint. And if still nobody guesses it after that, I have a fourth hint that should be a pretty easy dead giveaway for this one. But the first 2 hints are going to be one of the benefits of this card is instant hotel status. And the second hint is that this card is only available to individuals with a U.S. address. What do we think, everybody?
I feel like that describes a decent number.
Yep. It certainly does. We've increased the difficulty moving with this hosting change. Who wants to have a crack at it first?
I'll go with it. I'll go with one of my traditional favorites, the American Express Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card.
Good guess, but that's not what we're looking for, Josh.
That was going to be my guess, too. So in that case, I'll go with the American Express Hilton Surpass card.
Hilton Surpass. I don't want to give it away, but that's close. Not quite what we're looking for. Reed, what do you got for us?
American Express Hilton Honors Aspire card.
That is correct. So the American Express Hilton Honors Aspire card. Reed, what is it about that card that you like so much and why you would recommend it to listeners of the podcast?
Yeah, so that card comes with the status you mentioned in the hint. It's Hilton Honors Diamond status, so that's the highest level of status. I think all of us have held that card or do hold that card or see the value of just jumping to that level of status. Anytime you're at a Hilton Honors stay, you're going to get free breakfast. You're going to get treated with a little bit more, elevated service. Yeah, and the card, I know Josh can speak to this because he holds a few of these. It also comes with a free night certificate, which can be used at a number of different luxury Hilton properties around the world. So there's a ton of benefit you can get out of that. There's a high annual fee on the card, so you've got to kind of make use of it to justify the fee. But I think it's pretty easy to get more value out of it than you're paying for. So,
oh, definitely. Yeah, we've got huge credits on that card. I think actually you can earn more from the credits than what your annual fee costs, which is a huge benefit. But I do have one small correction for you, Reed. With the Hilton program, you're going to get food and beverage credits at resorts and hotels within North America, right. But you will get free breakfast even starting at the gold level. So that Surpass card that Jeff mentioned in his guess, you will get free breakfast when you're outside North America, even with that card. But here in North America, you're going to get $25 per person in food and beverage credit at the high-end resorts and slightly less than that at the other resorts. But if you want more info on it, Jeff actually wrote an excellent post all about the Hilton Honors free breakfast guide, what applies where, and how to navigate this matrix of death. That is the Hilton Honors Aspire credits. So that wraps up our Guess That Card segment, and we're going to move on to a new segment that I've got here called Keeping You Miles Ahead. Now, with Keeping You Miles Ahead, this is going to be a broad overview of miles and points news. And the first thing that I have for us to cover today is the fact that Alaskan and Hawaiian is, in fact, transferring correctly from American Express Membership Awards US. Now, that is a whole bunch of words, but Josh, I believe you spoke about this on the last show, that there was some issues that were going on with the transfer. Can you enlighten us on those details?
For sure. So the Alaskan and Hawaiian partnership kind of moved at breakneck speed once it happened, a lot quicker than I think many of us were expecting. And so initially there was a lot of speculation surrounding, will I be able to move my American Express membership rewards in the United States to Hawaiian and then subsequently to Alaska Airlines? So there was a little bit of mystery surrounding that. And once that opportunity came up, there were issues with transferring between programs within that day. Presumably there was only a set amount of Hawaiian miles on hand. So people were seeing errors when trying to transfer from Membership Rewards US to Hawaiian. However, that was corrected very quickly shortly thereafter. So for the time being, you can definitely transfer your membership rewards in the United States to Hawaiian, to Alaska. I just did another 300,000 last night for a total of 600K so far. I will note there is a tax on it when you are transferring membership rewards US to Hawaiian Airlines. So you do want to transfer the biggest chunk possible at once, as the max fee is $99 USD. For what it's worth, $99 USD in my example for transferring 300,000 miles is a no-brainer. It's a completely worth it value proposition, but just know that they're going to ding you a little bit when you make that transfer, and just be prepared for it.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing that with us, Josh. And then Jeff, you've flown with Starlux through the Alaska partnership before. Now, of course, Starlux is a partner of Alaska Airlines, so you can redeem miles on them. How long do you think that this partnership or loophole per se of going from American Express Membership Awards US to Hawaiian and then on to Alaska is going to last?
So American Express has made no comment about when this loophole. I wouldn't really even call it a loophole. I'd just call it kind of like a little bit of a temporary feature. We don't know how long it's going to last. That said, being able to transfer to Alaska is a really big deal because Alaska doesn't really have any transfer partners outside of Bill. So there's a ton of value to be had there. And did you want me to talk about Starlux at all?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Enlighten us on the experience. Tell us why we should be transferring our American Express USMR into Hawaiian and then into Alaska to fly a fourth airline partner in Starlux.
Yeah, so I don't really want to talk about the flight so much. The flight was great, I will say. It was a really, really great flight. I think they're right up there with Qatar Q Suites when it comes to the experience on board. What I will say, the benefit of having Starlux as a partner with Alaska is the fact that you're competing. You don't really have to compete with many other people and other programs. So for example, when you're wanting to book a Japan Airlines flight, you're competing with members from British Airways, Avios, Alaska Airlines, American Airlines, all the One World partners. The only people you're technically competing against are other members of the Alaska Airlines mileage program, of which there aren't as many, and you can't accumulate as many points in the program as some of the others. So the availability of award space theoretically can be a little bit better, which is one of the big benefits I see in that partnership at this time. Starlux has announced that they want to join One World eventually, so that advantage may go away in the next year or so.
Right. So we're not exactly sure how long those transfers are going to last to go from American Express Membership Awards into Hawaiian, then into Alaska, all at 1-to-1, by the way. But we'll see how long it lasts. And if you are thinking about any of the great partnerships that Alaska Airlines has with all of their different airlines, for lack of a better term, then do that transfer sooner rather than later. And I'll quickly add my 2 cents. I actually just used this what did you say, Jeff? Not a loophole, but
Just a temporary feature.
a temporary feature. I love that because it's exactly what it is. I used this temporary feature just today to actually transfer points from American Express US into Alaska through Hawaiian to book a Japan Airlines flight in premium economy for my wife, who's coming back from Japan after a girls' trip. And to book that same flight on British Airways Avios would have cost 52,000 points and about $400 in taxes and fees. Here with Alaska Airlines, I paid 50,000 points and only $50 in taxes and fees. So not only did I save 2,500 points, but I also saved over 350 US dollars, which is nothing to shake a stick at. Now, moving on to our next piece of keeping you miles ahead is that fact that Qatar has launched its second Canadian route. So, of course, this is all the more reason to apply for any RBC products, as, of course, those are fantastic opportunities to earn lots and lots of Avios. If you're not familiar, the best way to book Qatar Q Suites and Qatar in general is using Avios that you can earn, whether it's British Airways or whether it's Iberia or even Finnair, if you manage to get your hands on those. You can transfer points between all of the different Avios flavor programs and then use them in one account to book lots of great flights. So seats are being released on the usual schedule, which something that we talk about a lot here is about 360 days in advance. And you'll get the 1 or 2 seats available at saver rates, which is 70,000 Avios to Doha, and then 85,000, 95,000 points, depending on where you're going. So I'm sure we're all super happy about that.
More options for Canadians, always a plus.
Yep. Yes. And less positioning flights to Montreal, as of course, Montreal was the only opportunity for Canadians to fly out of Canada without having to fly into the United States. So a nice new opportunity to redeem some Avios. And our final piece of news here in keeping you miles ahead is that Marriott has launched a new Refer a Friend promotion. So this is something that Marriott has done before, but we haven't seen in probably at least the last 12 months, I would say. Essentially, what this does is you can refer somebody who doesn't have a Marriott Bonvoy account, and they will then receive bonus points, and you, the referrer, will also receive bonus points when they complete stays. So we'll have a link to this on our show notes that you can sign up and become a Marriott Bonvoy referrer. There's a total of 50,000 points that are up for grabs for you, the person who sends the link and invites somebody to sign up to be a Marriott Bonvoy member. So it's nothing to shake a stick at and definitely something to look into further. And that's all we have to keep you miles ahead. All right. And then now moving on to another new segment. We're completely changing things up here. The name is still a work in progress, but what I'm going with is promo or no-mo. So this is a promotion, or should you not pay attention to this promotion at all? And this is a review of recent loyalty promotions and if they're worth pursuing. So I would say the biggest news probably of the year, if not of the last couple of years, is Scandinavian Airlines has joined SkyTeam. Now, that is not the brand new news that is making headlines. However, what is making headlines is the fact that you can earn up to 1 million miles by flying on 15 SkyTeam airlines by the end of 2024. So I'm curious, has anybody on the show heard about this promotion, and do we have any thoughts?
It's an incredible promotion if you can do it. Pretty difficult to pull off, though, I think, for most people.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be easy. There's specific fare classes that you have to fulfill, and flying on 15 airlines by the end of the year that are all spread out over the globe, a challenge. One thing to note there, you've got to book those flights with Euro bonus points.
I'll admit, I've lost all interest. I personally don't even plan on taking 15 flights before the end of the year on any airline as it stands. So, but the promotion itself does feel like one of a kind for what it's worth.
So you already need 1 million points to get the 1 million points, essentially.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Not super familiar with SAS Euro bonus award charts, but as somebody who's on a contractor-based or freelancer-based schedule, I am intrigued. I am very much considering if I can make it happen, but it means a lot of flights in economy, long haul, because the majority of these airlines are all around the world. right? I mean, the airlines that you'd have to fly, not like you'll remember these from the show, but you can look them up after. Obviously, Scandinavian Airlines, Aerolíneas Argentina, Aeromexico, Air Europa, Air France, China Airlines, China Eastern, Delta, that's close to home, Garuda Indonesia, Kenya Airways, KLM Royal Dutch, Korean Air, Saudi Airlines, Tarom, Vietnam Airlines, Virgin Atlantic, and Xiamen Airlines. So you'd really have to go all the way around the world, potentially even twice, depending on how you're going to schedule these flights and find them. But the one tip I'd give to any aspiring miles and points enthusiasts out there is look for Fifth Freedom routes. Fifth Freedom routes can often be a great way to find not only cheap flights, but also maybe a carrier like Virgin Atlantic, for example, operates some stuff down in the Caribbean, and you could be able to link some things together. However, there's not very many other of those carriers that are down in the Caribbean, so that might not prove helpful. But as somebody who's just started planning for this, it's a small tip that could help. Moving on to other promotions. On October 9th, Marriott Bonvoy sent out the following message to Titanium Elite members. Access another level of benefits and comfort worldwide with our new preferred partnership with Aeroplan, the frequent flyer program of Canada. Great Air Canada. Great news, of course. As a Marriott Bonvoy Titanium Elite member, which I am, and I believe most people, if not everybody on the show today is, you can receive complimentary Aeroplan 25K status when you link your Marriott Bonvoy and Aeroplan accounts. Now, Josh, I know you took advantage of this promotion, and you are currently a 25K member, and you were not before October 9th. Is this true?
Yeah, I don't know if I should be happy or ashamed that I had zero status in the Air Canada Aeroplan program before, but that's the reality as somebody who doesn't do a lot of cash fares or frankly, do a lot of the everyday qualification. So I received the email, took 2 seconds to link my Marriott Bonvoy account to my Aeroplan account, and sure enough, instant status 25K. So I can already select my choice benefits. Of course, you want to wait to select those till later in the year, but it was great. Frankly, it strengthens the power of Titanium Elite with Marriott Bonvoy, which is already an excellent status level. It is important to note that it's definitely not the only way to earn 25K status in the Aeroplan program. Of course, you can earn it normally through earning status qualifying miles, status qualifying segments, or status qualifying dollars, and a combination of those. But I know, Danny, you've definitely taken advantage of the everyday qualification program that Aeroplan offers, where you can earn 100,000 Aeroplan everyday qualification points within a calendar year to earn that 25K status. And for many people who don't fly as much or use cash fares, that's a great program that can be taken advantage of to get at least some baseline status for e-upgrades within the Air Canada Aeroplan program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Josh is a fan. Good to know. Did anybody else take advantage of that promotion?
Not yet, but I'm only a couple nights away from Titanium, so I'm super excited to get my free 25K status.
So we've got an imposter among us.
So what I found kind of strange is because I have status with both programs already, they won't even let you link your accounts if you're in that situation, which I find kind of weird, but whatever. I don't really need it because I already have status with both. And I will just quickly mention, since we will be talking about US credit cards, the Chase Aeroplan card, I think, is the best way to earn 25K status by spending the 15K US in a calendar year. Super simple to do if you can do the spend, and probably the cheapest way to do it as well.
Yep. Really good point, Jeff. And speaking of Aeroplan status, if you are an Aeroplan status member already, but you don't hold status with Marriott Bonvoy, that's not all. You are not left out of this promotion. You can get Marriott Bonvoy Gold status, which is, of course, a very sought after and very difficult to acquire status. Right, everybody?
Impossible.
If you can't tell, we are maybe being a bit facetious. Marriott Bonvoy Gold status comes with a bunch of different cards, including the American Express Platinum card in Canada and in the US, which is, of course, our main event that we're going to be talking about today. Everything that's great about US credit cards and why you should be getting them. But if you don't have any of those and you are listening to this show and you are also a member of the Aeroplan Elite family, you can link your accounts and receive instant Marriott Bonvoy Gold status. Not going to get you very far, 25 bonus points or 25% bonus points and a potential for a room upgrade, but it is better than a kick in the teeth. So this begs the question, what is the best way to achieve 25K status? And I think Jeff already hit the nail on the head. Getting into US credit cards and signing up for the Chase Aeroplan card will not only give you 1 year of instant 25K status, but 2 years of instant 25K status. As Jeff mentioned, to continue to hold 25K status beyond those first introductory 2 years, you will just need to spend $15,000 on the card, and you will get your 25K year after year. Now, this is going to bring us to our main event called Learning to Get Miles Ahead. With this main event, it is the most advanced topic that we've covered through the show. If you haven't listened to episodes 1 through 3, there's likely going to be a lot of foreign jargon here. If anything sounds unfamiliar or confusing, check through this episode's show notes for links to our website while you're listening. Or alternatively, you can just listen to episodes 1 through 3 before the rest of this episode, and then you'll probably have most of your questions answered. However, if we didn't address a question that you still have lingering after listening to this, of course, drop us a line in the feedback podcast form, and we'll get to it in our questions of the month. Without further ado, introducing today, Learning to Get Miles Ahead. Today, we're teaching you how to get miles ahead with US credit cards. Today, we are going to talk about the following: why we love American credit cards, how Canadians can get their hands on US credit cards, what is the best card to start with, and our favorite US cards and their flexible points systems. So, starting it off with our first section, why we love American credit cards. This is going to be a pretty high-level overview rather than specific benefits. But Reed, why don't you tell us one of your favorite things about US credit cards and why you absolutely love them?
Yeah, so one glaring huge difference in US credit cards versus Canadian credit cards, kind of from a broad market perspective, is the vast majority of US credit cards have no foreign transaction fees. So if you're looking for a card in Canada that has no foreign transaction fees, I think there's only 2 or 3 at this point. And so you're just going to have a much easier time getting a card that has that benefit in the US.
Yep. Josh, what do you love about American credit cards?
It's kind of a double whammy on this one. In the positive light, you have more cards available across many different issuers. There's a much greater need for competition in the United States, and it shows with the credit card offerings that are out there. Going hand in hand with that competition aspect, the welcome bonuses are nuts compared to Canada. Like, I cannot understate, we see double, triple the amounts of points in similar currencies, similar values on US credit cards than we do in Canada. It's unmatched.
Awesome. And Jeff, why don't you bring us home here with your favorite features of American credit cards?
Yeah, for me, it's the access to the loyalty programs that we just don't have in Canada. Big ones for me are, although we do have access to Air France KLM, it's not great through American Express Canada. With the US programs, it's a 1-to-1 transfer ratio. Other good ones are World of Hyatt at Chase. That's a big one for me that we have virtually no access to earning points in Canada. And there are many other examples, but those are 2 that just come to mind at the moment.
Yeah, no, really good points, Jeff. And if you're not familiar, what Jeff's referring to there is the fact that in Canada, the main way that people can earn loads and loads of Air France KLM Flying Blue miles is through transferring points from American Express Canada. Now, American Express Canada has a 1 to 0.75 transfer ratio, whereas in the US, you'll often get a 1-to-1. So, for example, if you had 100,000 American Express points, that only equals 75,000 points in Flying Blue. But if you have 100,000 US American Express points, that now becomes 100,000 Flying Blue points. So a pretty significant difference there. Now, these are all great benefits, but how are we actually going to get our hands on these US cards? So what would be our first step, Reed? You're kind of our resident ITIN and US credit card expert. What does somebody need to do if they want to get their hands on all these great benefits and new loyalty currencies?
Yeah, so in the past, you'd generally want to just get your first card as soon as possible. And there's a few ways to actually go about getting that first card that we're going to talk about. As a result of some changes to those methods, which are Nova Credit and Global Transfer, it really makes the most sense to just get started right away in getting an ITIN. So an ITIN is an individual taxpayer identification number. It kind of is a placeholder for a social security number in the US. So it's just a tax identifying number for people that don't qualify for an SSN.
Well, and it's a way for the banks to track you as well, right? So if there's somebody else who's also Daniel Burkett who has the same birthday, we don't get the credit files mixed up. Am I correct in saying that?
Yep. Yeah. And aside from that, I mean, there's just kind of a whole bunch of pieces that you need to have in place. So things like a US address, a US bank account. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the main essential pieces.
Got it. Now, going back to the ITIN, you probably know a guy that can help you get one of those if you don't know how to do it, right?
That's right. So there's guides out there online to help you through the process, but it is a bit complex, and it's gotten more complicated as well as a result of changes over the years. So we have a service that's kind of just a bespoke. You sign up through our site, and we set you up with the paperwork to apply to get your ITIN. And right now it costs $140 plus tax. So
perfect. There we go. Now, once you have your ITIN, you will need a US address. Now, the best way to get a US address is to have a close friend or family member that currently lives in the US that will let you use their address to send all sorts of different bank documents. You would list your US bank account home address as this address in the United States. But if you don't have a close family friend that lives down there or somebody who's willing to let you use their address, or maybe your relationship isn't quite to that level, how can somebody acquire a US address? Josh, I think you probably have some experience with this.
For sure. So yeah, the US address is really the cornerstone. I unfortunately do not have anyone in the States that I can use, family or friends, who would be willing to receive my credit cards and forward them on or take a picture of them and send them to me. So typically, for people like myself in that same situation, you're going to look into finding a mail forwarder that will accept credit cards. So mail forwarders essentially just receive the mail, they'll forward it on to Canada, collecting a small fee in the process. That's their whole business model. It's important to note not all mail forwarders will accept credit cards or finance related things. So you do have to really look specifically for one that will. The one that Reed and I use, so we're both based in Edmonton. So 24/7 Parcel is based on the west coast of the United States in Linden, Washington. And 24/7 Parcel is who I've used for 5 years now, and they've always been fantastic. There's no issues with them. They always forward it. They're timely. Their price is reasonable. Frugal Flyer actually partners with 24/7 Parcel as well. So if you are looking to sign up, when you do, just mention that you heard about them through Frugal Flyer, and you will receive a $20 USD discount on your annual mailbox fees. So typically those annual fees just for having that kind of virtual mailbox would be $90 USD. With our $20 USD discount for mentioning Frugal Flyer, it'll only be $70 USD, and then you pay a small fee for each letter that is forwarded.
Fantastic. So using that $20 USD that you save to open up a US address, you can put that towards your ITIN fund. I like it. Now, but one of the next steps in the process, we've got our ITIN, we've got a US address. We now need a US bank account. So I'd like to have everybody talk about which US bank account they use. And Jeff, I'll have you go first.
Yeah, so I know a popular method for many people is to try to get a US bank account online through one of the big banks in Canada that do business on both sides of the border. But I'm going to recommend for people, and this is unfortunately only for people that live within driving distance of the border. I'm fortunate enough, I only live 15 minutes from the border. So what I did was just drive across the border and open a bank account in person. The banks that are directly on the other side of the border are really familiar and accommodating to Canadians opening accounts. So you can have everything done in person. They'll accept your Canadian driver's license or passport as ID. They won't put up any fuss about giving them a Canadian mailing address. Everything is really smooth. And that was the way I did it. And I know several other people that I've recommended to do that have done it and had no problem. There's various banks that will readily take your business. And the other nice thing about it, and perhaps you guys can talk about this, but I'm not sure, do the big banks like CIBC and RBC, do they charge like a monthly fee or a minimum required deposit to waive fees? Because the ones, credit unions and small community banks in the US, I find usually don't have those fees, which is another nice advantage.
Yeah. So in my experience, I mean, some of the banks do, most of them do have a minimum balance. For my bank that I use, it's TD Convenience Checking. It's actually not available anymore to Canadians, but it requires only a $100 minimum balance, which is not too big of a deal. But there's another bank that I was going to recommend, which is BMO Harris. It's a bit more complicated to set up, but there's no minimum balance requirement. There's no fees at all. So once you have it set up, it's really nice. Yeah, in terms of setting it up, for Canadians, you typically won't be able to do it online. You'll have to call in. From what I've heard, the call is minimum of an hour, just going through some basic questions and really long disclosures. And then you do have to deposit. So in order to get the account open, you have to deposit $25 US dollars, which I believe you can do via a wire transfer. So that's a bit of a hurdle. Josh, I think you had a comment about some of those accounts as well.
Yeah. So I was set up with TD as well back in the day, and it wasn't too big of a deal to set up because I also have that convenience checking with the $100 minimum. I just was able to do it as a TD Canada customer. Like Reed said, that's not available anymore. So that's not really a great avenue. Personally, I would lean towards going down the BMO Harris route. I was wondering, Jeff, do you think, so obviously I'm not based near the border, but if I were to make my way just south of the border, whether that be flying into Vancouver for a day and driving down, you don't think they'd care at all if my drivers said Edmonton, like they just want business down there, eh?
Right. Yeah, no, I think they're pretty used to, like a lot of Canadians, especially in and around Vancouver, own a second property in, like, say, for example, Point Roberts. So they're like really used to Canadians coming down and opening bank accounts. It seemed like it was no big deal. It seems like they deal with that type of thing all the time. So yeah, I don't think you'd have any problem. And I just want to clarify, like, I'm not going to say flying into, like, say, Seattle and trying to open a Canadian bank account would be as easy. I'm more talking about border town, like towns that are directly on the other side of the border that see a lot of Canadian traffic.
So I will just add one quick thing on that is once you have one of those first brick and mortar banks, or, if you do as with Jeff and set up a local credit union, there are some online banks that you can set up. So I have a second bank account with Capital One 360 checking, and I was able to set up that all online, but it was only because I already had well-established U.S. presence and a bank account. So,
sure. Yeah. My experience with CIBC, I know that there are some mixed opinions of them. I set up my account in early 2022, and I wasn't actually a CIBC Canada customer at all. And I signed up for their basic $4 a month checking account in Canada, which then allowed me to sign up for their cross-border solution. And their cross-border solution has no monthly fees at all. I don't pay anything for it. And I was using 24/7 parcel, the same as everybody else. And they gave me an address for specifically if I'm using CIBC or Amex to use that specific one. I put it in there, had everything set up, no problem. And about 2 weeks later, before my first statement arrived, I received through snail mail a notice from CIBC. And what they said is that your address is a mail forwarder and we've removed it from your account. But by all means, you're happy to use any other address, and it defaulted back to my Canadian address. This was moments before I was just about to call Amex Canada for my three-way call using Nova Credit, which is what we're going to get into. And in my CIBC account, it even showed my Canadian address sitting there as the address that was on file. I gave them the address that I had previously put in, which CIBC rejected, and they accepted it, no problem, over the phone. They said that was no issues whatsoever. And just like that, my US credit history was born, and I canceled my CIBC Canada bank account, and that was that. I now have a CIBC USA account that I can send Zelle payments with and all that good stuff. So your mileage may vary, but it could be worth going down that path of CIBC because it took me all of 15 minutes to open an online account in Canada, and then conversely, open up that US account online as well. So worth potentially going down there. Now, once you have your US bank account set up, you've changed your US bank account address to be the US address of your friend or family or of 24/7 Parcel. You're now a newly minted resident of Linden, Washington, as so many of us are. We can have two options to apply. We've got Nova Credit or Global Transfer. Who wants to take Nova Credit, the ultra popular and route that most people take?
I think Reed should do both. I'm going to be honest. I only
Reed
ever
should do
did
both.
Nova.
Yeah, so I mean, I would start by just saying that they're both quite similar in the idea that Nova Credit and Global Transfer are using your pre-existing credit history in Canada to basically expedite you to getting approved for that first card. Nova Credit will use, I believe it's TransUnion.
Yep.
And so they'll look at any cards you have in Canada, versus Global Transfer is an American Express specific service. And so they're only going to be looking at your pre-existing relationship with Amex Canada. So if you don't have any Amex Canada cards, Global Transfer is not an option in the first place. Yeah, they both work well. I mean, generally, I recommend people to go through Nova Credit. It's just a bit simpler. There tends to be less, questions asked. Like with Global Transfer, it's common you have to do a 3-way call, and so you'll do a 3-way call with Amex and with your bank. And this is what I had to do back in the day as well, because there used to not be Nova Credit. It was just Global Transfer, and they'll just verify your address, so it's no issue. It's smooth enough. But with Nova Credit, you'll quite often be automatically approved. And, sometimes you'll be pending and then they'll ask for upload of your passport or just to confirm some other information. One other point, Nova Credit requires you to have an ITIN. My knowledge is still with Global Transfer, you can get through without an ITIN, but you're only going to get one card. You're not going to be able to get more than one card with that. So that's kind of why we just recommend, like, right off the bat now, just get your ITIN as soon as you can.
So in conclusion, Nova Credit is the easier and potentially path of least resistance. You don't have to have any Amex cards in Canada to do it. If you do want to go down the Global Transfer route, you don't have to have an ITIN. Is that correct, Reed?
Right now, I mean, that could change anytime, but yeah.
That's true. It could change any point in time, but at the point of time that we're recording, you don't have to have an ITIN or a social security number. So if you want to go the Global Transfer route, you have to have an Amex card in Canada or somewhere else in the world, and you will be able to get that first one US card. Now, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're all jazzed up about all the potential stuff that you can get by getting your hands on US credit cards, you're probably wondering, how long does this take? Well, I'll leave it up to the group to tell you exactly how long this is going to take, because there's a definitive answer, right?
My answer would be that the limiting factor is the ITIN. So once you submit, once you send your paperwork to the IRS, it's a minimum 8 weeks, but quite often 16 weeks before you'll get it back. So, that's kind of the minimum time you should budget. But I mean, if I were doing it all again, that's what I would do. I'd send my ITIN in, and then I'd start working on that other stuff, the bank account, the address, and I'd have that all ready to go once I get the ITIN. And then, you can get started on applying, as soon as you get that.
Yeah.
Perfect. So go ahead, Josh.
I agree. Like, this is not something that can be done in one day. So it's better to get going on it ASAP, as things change all the time with what was required. So for example, over a year ago, you didn't need an ITIN for Nova Credit. Now there is that requirement for Nova Credit. Things change and barriers tend to only increase. So you really do want to take advantage of making a move and getting into the US game sooner rather than later if it's of interest.
I will actually, I did want to just say one thing, which is that there is something to be said for if you already have a, relationship with one of the big 5 banks, which everyone does. And if you go through setting up a US bank account with one of those banks, lots of those banks will offer so those US domiciled banks will offer a US credit card to account holders. And typically you won't need an ITIN for that. So that's kind of another option. The benefit of that would be just getting a first card faster and starting to build your history. And we can go down a rabbit hole of why you want to build your history as fast as possible. The short answer is once you've got a certain amount of history, you can more easily get into other banks other than American Express US, like Chase. So that's another approach. I mean, it's kind of depends on your personal goals as far as points go, I guess.
Yeah, really good point, Reed. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Now, we've been over why we love American credit cards. We've talked about how Canadians can get their hands on US credit cards. Now, what is the best card that everyone should be starting with? So I'll ask everyone to talk about what card they started with and why they chose it.
Sure.
I bet you we're all the same.
Are we all the same?
Everyone say it on 3.
I think we are.
So I started with the Hilton Honors no fee card. I started with that. Just at the time, I was interested in kind of expanding. There's not a lot of hotel points programs in Canada. So, from that perspective, I was interested in accessing the Hilton program. And it's just it's a good no fee card. And there's a whole rabbit hole there too of doing like upgrading the card to the next level, like the Surpass and then the Aspire. So yes, getting into that ecosystem with a no fee card is a good move.
Yeah. Jeff, did you also start with the Hilton no fee?
Yep. Same thing. The card just makes a lot of sense. It's a way to get your foot in the door at Hilton, and there's no annual fee. The minimum spend is, I think, only $1,000. Am I right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So just makes a lot of sense for your first card. I'm not even sure what does anyone really have any alternative ideas? I'm not even sure.
Another one people sometimes recommend is the Amex Green card. I think the main logic there is like as you get some of the higher tier membership rewards cards, if you're not holding those for more than a year, you have that green card to kind of hold your membership rewards points. So that can be another option. I mean, I still think personally, I think I would just get the Hilton again if I was doing this over. But
Josh, any opinions?
Yeah, it's not sexy, but that's what I started with too. I think the more time you spend in this hobby, you realize airline points are a lot easier to come by than hotel points, typically in big chunks. So opening up a whole other ecosystem in Hilton Honors is obviously a major plus for Canadians who have been kind of landlocked to Marriott Bonvoy up until this point.
Yeah, good points, everyone. I will say that in hindsight, when I looked at my situation, like Reed mentioned, there's lots of upgrade and downgrade offers with the Hilton cards. As long as it doesn't change by the time that you go to apply for it, I think you could reasonably apply for any of the Hilton cards. And with the ability to downgrade to a no annual fee, really the worst thing that happens is you're missing out on 70,000 Hilton Honors points, depending on the bonus that's currently available. And you really could be missing out on another free night. But we haven't seen that Hilton Honors no fee American Express card be offered with a free night in quite some time. Can anybody remember the last time that card had a free night as part of its welcome offer?
I think it's been a while. I think most recently we've seen on the Surpass, there's been a tie-in with a free night, which is like the tier above. But typically you'll see 80 to 100K on that no fee Hilton. And I would say that's a great offer. But yeah.
Yep.
Has anyone seen, so when I first got the card, there was usually once a year, there'd be an email that would go out with an upgrade offer. So if you're typically on the Hilton no fee, they'd offer, you can upgrade to the Surpass. And then the strategy was to basically apply for the Surpass and then upgrade. So you get 2 Surpasses. But has anyone seen those upgrade offers go out lately? I haven't
seen one in years, and I got them pretty regularly.
I saw one in 2023. And then, to be honest, I wasn't even paying attention to Hilton in 2024, so I wasn't paying much attention to it. But I did get one in 2023, and I did a similar thing to what Reed is saying, where I applied for the Surpass, got a Surpass, and then accepted the upgrade offer. So it's basically like a double sign-up bonus, which is a fantastic strategy with those Hilton cards. Yeah. So Hilton no fee makes a lot of sense as a first card to start with. The one word of caution I will say, well, there's 2 words of caution, but the first word of caution I will say is you probably don't want to start with the Amex Platinum card. Not only does it have a high annual fee, but with the new family language, which Josh wrote a fantastic article on, you will now not be able to get the gold and green sign-up bonuses. So better off to either start with the green or skip out on the green and start with the gold card, and then you would miss out on the green bonus. But if you go right to the platinum, you're potentially leaving like close to 200,000 membership rewards on the table. And that's a lot of points to leave out there. But the second word of caution is that you should not be starting with a business card. And why don't we want to sign up for a business card as your very first American Express US card, everybody?
Business cards don't report to the credit bureau.
Boom. Mic drop. That's all that needs to be said. Business cards do not build your credit history. So you need to start with that personal one so that you can build that credit history and get into some of our favorite benefits of US credit cards. So, of course, now we've talked about what we love about them, how you can get your hands on them, which one to start with, and then what now our experience has been with US credit cards and why we're such big advocates. Jeff, I'll have you start. What is your favorite benefit of a specific US credit card or point system?
I mentioned it earlier. It's access to programs that we don't have great availability in Canada. And the one I always turn to is World of Hyatt. That's probably one of my favorite. It's why Chase points, I think, are the best US currency, because World of Hyatt is only available as a transfer partner from Chase.
Chase and Bilt. Can't forget about good old Bilt.
Right. Bilt doesn't.
For all those Canadians out there with SSNs that are paying their rent. Chase points and getting access to Hyatt is a fantastic benefit. Josh, I believe you've actually gotten into City Points. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I took kind of an abnormal route. So I had my first Amex for a period of time, and then I got Citibank next instead of Chase. So I started out with what is now the Citi Strata card, I believe is what it's called, that earns Citi thank you points. Those points can be transferred to a number of programs, a lot that are similar to American Express membership rewards. But again, opens up another bank, another avenue. Citi also opens up the avenue that is American Airlines Advantage, which is an excellent program to earn points in. Not a lot of great ways to earn points outside of the few cards they have. They have personal cards and business AA Advantage cards. But where the American Airlines Advantage program really shines is the taxes and fees on those bookings are like $6. It's crazy low. And they have the option to essentially hold a seat. You can hold a seat online and, move points over to that if you need. As well, the flexibility in being able to cancel your bookings, it's just unmatched within American Airlines. So I will, caveat, not everything is a unicorn. American Airlines typically gets availability to award seats later than using, specific programs. So if you're searching for Qatar Airways Q suites, you might not be able to find the availability you want because everybody has booked them already with Qatar Airways Privilege Club by the time they would show up on AA Advantage. But Citi is a great program to eventually move your way into for access to those thank you points and those American Airlines co-branded cards that offer some unique opportunities.
Awesome. And Reed, let's hear from the man who's going to get all these listeners ITINs to sign up for all these great cards. What do you love so much about our lovely, lovely friends south of the border?
Something I really enjoy and taking advantage of, I guess, is a two-pronged answer, is some of the hotel free night award benefits that come with the Bonvoy cards, the Hilton, Aspire, Surpass cards, and then also the status benefits that you can get. So we've mentioned there's cards that just give you instant platinum status with Bonvoy or diamond status with Hilton. For me right now, something I take advantage of is so if you hold a personal and a business Marriott Bonvoy card, you get automatic 15 elite nights, and those stack. So I just start every year with 30 elite nights, and I typically stay enough at Marriott to get to that platinum level. So that's a big benefit for me, and that's something that in Canada you can get a Bonvoy card, but you can't. There's no way to stack, so you're only ever going to get that 15 nights, which is a big difference.
Right. And Jeff and I actually have this in common where we both hold the Bonvoy Brilliant US card, which gives you 25 elite nights per year. Yep. And it stacks with that 15 elite nights from the Bonvoy Business. So Jeff and I start the year with 40 nights every single year. So we only need 35 qualifying nights, whether that's paid, whether that's promotional, whether that comes by way of point stays, to accrue Marriott Titanium status. And Jeff, as we talked about earlier, Titanium status comes with Aeroplan 25K status.
Yep.
So I think arguably signing up for the Chase card could be a great alternative to get that 25K status, but also just going the Amex route and probably a little bit faster, you could accrue 25K status just by getting Marriott Titanium Elite.
Yeah, it's another reason to kind of go further than Platinum. Like for me, especially, it's kind of something I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Just another benefit of getting to Titanium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing that we haven't even mentioned, but you do get United Silver status when you become a Marriott Bonvoy Titanium Elite member. Now, that's not going to get you a lot, but you would get Economy Plus seating if you used your United number when you checked in online on the day of, or within 24 hours of that United flight. And then I've had good success actually changing that Aeroplan number or changing the frequent flyer number back to my Aeroplan so that I still get all my status qualifying segments, status qualifying miles. The United app is good at a lot of things, and one of those is the chat function. So just chatting with them and changing it back over to Aeroplan is a great way to get the benefit and then also get your SQSs. That pretty much wraps up our main event, learning to get miles ahead, teaching you all about getting miles ahead with US credit cards. We now want to move into our questions of the month. So our first question of the month comes from Albert, and Albert asks, can someone please explain how to use Aeroplan points in booking United Airlines flights or any other partners in the Star Alliance? Jeff, I think this is a good question for you.
Yeah, so Aeroplan has made it really easy. You just go to the Air Canada website and you need to be searching a route that United operates. So you would need to be searching for a flight that either operates to or from one of their hubs in the US. That's going to be the way you theoretically find these flights, but United is pretty stingy when it comes to award availability. And actually, the four of us were just talking about this the other day as we were looking at flights to and from Asia. And United is probably one of the best airlines for finding last-minute award availability, because as we were discussing this, I did a search where now obviously this is really in close to a travel date, but if you search like the following day, as in tomorrow, you can sometimes find up to 9 seats on the San Francisco to Taipei route, which is really, really nice to have that option. But of course, you need to be willing to book it 1 day in advance. And that's probably going to be, unfortunately, the best way to find those long haul, high demand routes with United. I don't really have any experience searching for domestic United flights. Maybe some of you guys do. But yeah, the number one tip I can provide is you need to be searching close to the travel date to have the best chances of success with United.
Yeah, I'm going to shill my approach. So I also don't have any experience booking United domestic, but my go-to for a question like this is just pop open seats.aero to make it clear, and search between your pairings, and you'll see kind of what's available, bookable on Aeroplan, and you'll be able to easily kind of filter out if you want to fly United or you only want to look for United segments. You can do that within there as well.
Another good tool, just to add on that, if you need to find what routes, you're looking for a specific partner, flightconnections.com. It's a really good tool that kind of will show you all of those routes for a specific airline.
Yep. Excellent point, Reed. I was just about to shamelessly self-promote the very first article that I ever wrote for frugalflyer.ca. If you are not a Frugal Flyer yet and you don't know all of your routes, Flight Connections is the best tool to simply select an airline or select the city you want to fly out of and see who services where. Now, moving on to our second question of the month, we have Nancy. Nancy says, hi, I'm really enjoying hearing from Canadians on miles and points strategies. I enjoyed the podcast on Avios and I learned a lot. I'm wondering, if you are opening multiple RBC Avion cards in a year, are you canceling them within 30 days of the second annual fee posting, or is there a card you downgrade to? If I get the Ion Plus, can my points live attached to that if I cancel my Avion card, or do I need to transfer my points out before closing a card? So obviously there's lots to unpack there. I'm going to give it up to our resident RBC rebate expert, Josh. What do you have for Nancy?
So there's a lot to this question. So we're going to unpack it in kind of different components and put together kind of a complete solution at the end here. So something that's important to note with how RBC works is within RBC, when you log in, there's a product switch, or it's like change my credit card or product change my card. We have an article on it. We'll put it in the show notes. And so what you can do is you can product change your card to that no fee Ion card, and you will receive a prorated annual fee refund on that based on how many months you have left. So what I will say though, is if you transfer to that card, and this is where it gets a bit complex, there are multiple tiers of Avion points. So you have your upper tier of Avion points, which are your Avion Elite points, which are tied to your Avion Visa Platinum card, your Avion Visa Infinite card, and your Avion Visa Infinite Privilege card. So these Avion Elite points are the ones that can be transferred to British Airways Avios, WestJet, American Airlines Advantage, Cathay Pacific Asia Miles. If you only have one RBC card and you switch it to that Ion card, they now become Avion Premium points. They are no longer Avion Elite points. Very minor distinction, but those Avion Premium points cannot be transferred to as many frequent flyer programs. So if you just had that one RBC card and your balance was tied to that, you've now effectively diminished the value of your points. So if I was in this situation, the approach I would take, and I'd love to hear from others on the show how they would handle it, I would personally transfer my Avion points to the partner that I wanted to transfer it to. I would then switch my card to the RBC Ion card to get a partial or bigger annual fee refund depending on when you switch. And I would then close the card.
Wow. Lots to unpack there, Josh.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have strategies for product switching RBC cards to help Nancy make the best decision?
Just do it.
I think something, yeah. Other than just do it. I think
do it. Like Shia LaBeouf. I like it. Just do it.
I think some people have had more success switching between different loyalty programs. And by that, I mean switching from, say, an Avion card to a WestJet card, and then perhaps to a British Airways card. I don't think any of us would recommend switching from, say, the Avion Visa Infinite to the Avion Visa. Is it what's the one?
Platinum.
Platinum. Yeah, I don't think any of us would recommend doing that. I try to recommend switching between different loyalty programs when you do product switch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, of course, if you do have multiple Avion cards, you should be able to transfer your Avion points. Let's say if you have an Avion business card and an Avion Infinite card, if you wanted to downgrade that Avion Infinite, you should be able to send your Avion points from the Infinite to the business. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes. And so that would be a great kind of feature that would work where if you have that Avion Visa Infinite and you have that Ion card, you can actually send your Avion on the Ion card over to that Avion Visa Infinite and essentially convert them from Avion Premium to Avion Elite and open up that wider range of transfer partners. So where this may come into effect, as Nancy mentioned, if they're opening multiple Avion cards a year, like say every 90 days, there might be an avenue there.
Excellent. And I know right before we started these questions, you said we weren't going to leave it too long, but this is a great question that deserves a great answer. So with that, we'll wrap up on Nancy. And just to recap, the best way is probably having two different Avion earning cards. You downgrade one of them, you keep the other one alive, and you keep the cycle going. We now have a question from Duncan. And Duncan says, "Hi guys, love the show. Really appreciate what you're doing for Miles and Points in Canada. There's lots of US shows, but this is one of the best ones I've listened to specifically for Canadians. We very much appreciate that, Duncan. Thank you very much. He recently received an email from RBC, not RBC Avion, offering him 65,000 Avion points for opening a new bank account. This is not a credit card, opening a new bank account. He's curious if this is an offer worth pursuing. The offer says that I need to set up and complete two of the following, and I have until April 2025 to do so. I must set up a payroll or pension as a direct deposit, 2 pre-authorized payment monthly billing payments, 2 eligible bill payments to a service provider. If you think this is a good offer, are there any creative ways for me to fulfill the requirements? Thanks again, guys. Love the show.
So I'll start out with my thoughts on this initially. So RBC banking is a bit different than a few of the other banks in Canada. Many banks offer accounts where you can hold a minimum balance to waive that monthly fee that is charged. So it might be the monthly fee might be $15, but if you keep a minimum balance of $4,000, you're not charged that. RBC is probably the only one within the big five that doesn't offer that full fee waiver by holding a balance. So if you were to pursue an offer like this, and I'll let someone else touch on fulfilling that offer, just be aware that you may be on the hook for that monthly fee for a period of time. So you would need to price that into like the opportunity cost, I guess, of doing this offer.
Yeah, I actually did look this up, and the minimum account you need to receive the $65,000 or 65,000 Avion points is $17 a month. That's for the RBC no limit banking account.
Right.
You apparently can reduce it by holding certain products with RBC.
The value program, it's called, I think, right?
Yes, I don't bank with RBC, so I'm not familiar with that. So if you're not able to take advantage of that reduced fee, it's going to cost you $200. Just over $200 over the course of a year, because you are required to keep the account open for 1 year if you want to try to pursue this offer.
Yeah. So, I mean, there might be a play there if you like really go all in with RBC, because you can get a credit card fee waiver or partial waiver with that signature account. And then if you do that value program, I believe there's a small discount off the fee, like $6. But I don't know. I mean, how much work are you willing to do, I guess, to get, that 65,000 points minus the fees you're paying is what people have to decide, I guess, for themselves. But
Sure.
Go ahead, Jeff.
None of us sound super enthused about this. So I'm guessing
I
think it's not worth it.
But yeah. If you were to go down the road, what I would say the easiest path would be, so you can do payroll or pension as a direct deposit. Depending on your employer, they might allow you to split your payroll into 2 different accounts. So you could easily funnel like a direct deposit payroll. Depending on your HR system that your employer has, you could funnel like $100 over, and that would count as payroll. And depending on your employer, it may be a hassle to switch your payroll or do a chunk of payroll, or it could be something as simple as you log in and do it self-serve. It really depends on the system and the permissions you have as an employee within that system. And then I like the 2 eligible bill payments. Easy. Simple. Nothing more really to say
everybody
about that
has
one.
Bills. They should be able to
make
that happen.
So is it something I'll be doing? No. I'm a little lazy, I'll be honest. When it comes to bank account offers, it's not a big thing that I tend to chase. But 65,000 Avion is pretty strong. And like Jeff said with the calculation, if you're out of pocket a little over $200 for 65,000 Avion, which could be 65,000 BA or British Airways Avios, let alone if there's a transfer bonus on top of that, as we tend to see with RBC, it's a pretty damn good sign-up bonus for what it's worth. So I think the value is there. The juice is worth the squeeze. It's just a matter of, how motivated are you?
Yeah, I think something else to keep in mind too, and this is probably buried somewhere in the terms and conditions of this offer, is that this may only be eligible for people who are not current customers of RBC, meaning if you already hold a credit card from them, or maybe even have your mortgage through them, you may not be eligible because you're technically not a new customer. I've run into that with other banks before trying to do these sorts of promotions, so that's something that you need to make absolute certain of before you look into this promotion.
Yeah, good point.
Yep, really good point, Jeff. The last thing I would add for Duncan here is that if you do want to transfer those points to British Airways, like Josh was talking about, you will need to have a card that earns Avion Elite points. So, of course, if you just have the bank account, those 65,000 points are only good within the very limited Avion ecosystem. To send them out to our lovely transfer partners, which we all enjoy doing so much, you will need to have a RBC Avion Platinum or RBC Avion Infinite, or potentially even the RBC Avion Business Card in order to do that. That will pretty much cover us off here for Miles Ahead. Thank you very much for tuning into the episode. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions about the episode or anything we talked about, be sure to leave a comment on the episode page on frugalflyer.ca. And if you have a question you want us to answer on air, you can submit it on frugalflyer.ca/podcast. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.